Hey YouTube, welcome to another video. I'm again back for another learning video for configuring these devices. I haven't been able to get back to this until today, as I have been very busy with other things, and it's almost been more than a month since I last touched it, so I figured I've almost forgot everything I learned in the past, so I haven't been able to do some more testing. In this particular video though, since I haven't been testing and playing with the devices, I figured I'd reset everything to factory default, remove everything so that I can learn more, and I'm going to do more editing on the video so that during that learning session I'm researching something. I'm gonna delete some of the time instead of the real time waiting on the video. I'm gonna delete those sometimes so that I can speed up the video, even make the video shorter basically when I publish it. But yeah, so that's the idea. Get everything running again from the scratch, and as you can see from the screen here, this is where I ended up last time, having configured everything, almost everything from scratch. So I have dual internet, just a refresher. I have dual internet, Comcast, AT&T. I'm using this particular router here, and so that's the TL-ER7206 router. Then I have the backbone. The backbone is the bottom switch here, which is the TLSG3428, and then I have a PoE switch which acts as an edge switch, which is the TLSG2210MP, and I plan to have a Pi 4 connected to it in a later part of the video if I can get to it today. But the way it's physically connected is, as you can see on the video here, have the AT&T, the Comcast here, and then the router is connected. This router is connected to this backbone, and then this backbone is connected to this edge switch, and then this edge switch is connected to that white access point over there, which is this one. The only thing missing here is the Pi 4 and the laptop, and the OC-300 is this one. It's connected directly to the router. At least that's how I found it's best connected during my last testing. I remember it should work best if I have it connected directly to the router. Of course, you can always connect it to the other backbones and everything, to the other switches, but for the time being I prefer to connect it here. So this one, and then my laptop is connected to OC-300 actually, to make sure that I always have connectivity to the OC-300, and then of course to the gateway as well. So that's the idea in here. The idea is to come up with several VLANs, the native. I don't want to call it management, because in my testing and experience last month, it doesn't really, I don't feel like it's a full management, real management VLAN in the true sense of the word that I can remember management VLAN is. Okay, so I just call it native VLAN, which is the default VLAN of default and the default IP here. And I'm going to define VLAN 10, VLAN 20 for the guest switch, mostly for the Wi-Fi. VLAN 20 is mostly for Wi-Fi, and VLAN 107. So these are the three networks, virtual networks. 107 is for our IoT networks. Okay, these are all tagged VLAN, and that's the native VLAN. And these are several of the SSIDs here, as you can see here. Again, I came up with these based on the last learning videos that I created a month or 2 months ago. And some of the notes here, this will be a failover dual WAN. Native VLAN will have all the network devices. It just works best for now, according to my experience. Then all of the VLANs should have access to the internet, secure the guest network, deny IoT devices from reaching any other VLANs other than its own, again based on the rules that like ACLs I created before. Sometimes there's a conflict. Deny family from reaching management VLAN. So this one, maybe I'll remove this one. Deny HTTP. Yeah, this one I might have to adjust this one again as well. I'll see what I can do about it. Deny IoT access to newly created private networks. Yep, I still would like to keep that one. I would like to make adding new networks simple. I don't have to keep creating and adding rules or clicking check boxes, because I hate relearning stuff again after months that I haven't used the particular device. Like now, I haven't used this in a couple of months. I have to relearn almost everything. I hope I retain a lot of the information during my learning sessions. I never really touch it after that. Okay, so let's do that. So the first step is access my controller. I believe, again, I'm not sure, but I should have it. So I already know the IP address of my controller. Before I created this video, I pinned it. And here we go. Welcome to use Omada controller. Sounds about right. Set your controller name. I forgot about all this stuff, but set the time zone. What about it? That should be EST time zone. So save it. Okay, Arizona, Central, not Central, Eastern. And not hotel use, I'm in home use actually. Okay, next. It says here if I did to configure those devices, so it found out all the devices already. For now, I'll skip and adapt them one by one and see how it works. So they've all been up since 12 days. I guess I set it up again 12 days ago, or maybe there was a power loss, something like that. Yeah. So skip. I'll skip this one as well. This is the Wi-Fi. Administrator name. Controller active. For this video, I'll just say admin. I'll do that later on. Password is, let's say, password for the purpose of this particular video. Password. No, I'm not gonna do that. So this is one of those that I don't want to do again. The cloud access. Maybe I'll check it again, but the last time I was configuring it through the cloud, there was no multi-factor authentication, so I don't feel comfortable having this access through the cloud without multi-factor authentication because of the amount of security issues that I might have. So admin password, so next. Something is right. Okay, finish. I need to log in again. So password. C. So, okay. There you go. It has an X here. Because it's just so slow to refresh. So they are now pending, and I think I can adapt them here. So let me do first adapt yeah, the gateway first. So I'll adapt the gateway. So just adapting here. So I'll try to do it slowly and one by one. I'm relearning everything again. Even the dashboards, I'm not very familiar with it anymore. I'll speed up the video after I have adapted all the devices. So I just noticed that I don't have a flash drive here to save the config and make the automatic configuration. But that's gonna be a good part, you know, another video that I can show you. But I remember testing that in one of my older videos that got corrupted. But anyway. Okay. I have those networks. Okay, so I have this. This will be the native VLAN. I'm going to create the new one, which is the family. Which is 10./24. Okay. Let's see how if I can remember how to create it. So this one's family. This is a VLAN, and I'm going to define it. Oh no, this should be an interface. It should be defined on VLAN. LAN to this one. That's why I put that one. It should be VLAN 10. And then for 192.168.10. It's the gateway, so 1/24. This one is family. Local. Let's do manual because I plan to use what do you call that, my own custom DNS server at home, so I don't use the ISP's what they call that, DNS servers. So in here I'll do a quad and a cloud share. Good. This one, not necessarily, obviously. Succeeded. Okay, so I have the family. So the next one will be guest. This one goes to the Wi-Fi. It goes to all the networks, but I'm going to define this, mostly emphasize it and isolate it to the Wi-Fi. So this one will be guest. Have it run over there. It should be VLAN 20. It should be 192.168.20.1/4. server. Close that one, so switch. Okay. To continue the video, so the next step is actually to create a wireless LAN. When creating wireless LAN, the thing that to remember are the VLAN that we have defined earlier, the very one of the earlier steps. So the first step is to set up the controller. The second step is to log into the controller, and then to adapt the devices and create the VLANs. So now that we have created the VLANs, which are these VLANs, the most important thing to remember are the numbers. The names are just for readability purposes. They don't really do much, but it's mostly for you as an administrator or the owner of the devices to be able to recall what this VLAN or network is for. But what's really important when configuring most of the network configurations or setups or specifications is that the VLAN number. So what I mean is the SSID. When you create that, it is very important to pay attention to the VLAN that you are creating. And let me just go back to the LAN portion of it. So the very first one I'm going to create is the admin VLAN, which is admin Wi-Fi SSID, and I'm going to tie it up with VLAN 1. So since I'm going to tie it up with VLAN 1, so if I go to LAN, okay, so if I go to LAN, yes, so the VLAN is 1, okay, and if I go to profile, LANs, okay, so the switch ports for all the switch port, which most of them are the default settings are, it's configured as profile all, and the native network of that is LAN, and LAN means it's VLAN 1. Okay, so let me just look at that one. And you can see here the untagged VLAN is LAN, everything else is tagged. So that's very important to keep in mind. So the same thing goes for family. The family, that will be the untagged network, which is family, and for the tagged network will be if you decide to tag all the other networks. But what I'm saying is this one family, the native network is family, guest is native, guest network, VLAN is native network is guest, IoT and LAN is LAN, but for all the native network is LAN. It is the untagged network for that port. And again, for that particular profile where the switch settings are, if I click here, let's say for the backbone, that means this port 1, which is under profile all, the native VLAN, it will have all the other VLANs, but the untagged one will be VLAN 1. Okay, so let me further demonstrate that in here. Let me close this one. So I'm going to create the admin Wi-Fi. Let me call it admin Wi-Fi, and I'm going to use the password as the password. And under advanced settings, yes, advanced settings, this is where you define the VLAN. Since this is the admin Wi-Fi, it's already untagged. I don't have to tag it anymore, so I have to leave it. I have to leave the enable checkbox as unchecked so that it works as expected. So I'll click apply, and there you go. There you go. So it doesn't have any VLAN here defined because it's the admin VLAN. It's already untagged, and it's gonna be able to connect to the internet. And let me create another one, and this one is the family Wi-Fi. Again, the family Wi-Fi, I can call it, I can call it family, but for the purpose of clarification here, family Wi-Fi. I have to do that and have to click enable VLAN, and I know family Wi-Fi is VLAN 10, but actually, okay, password. Okay, let me do that, password. Click it. So you can see here that the family Wi-Fi is VLAN 10, which let me open this one.
Let me open another one. Okay. Come on. I just want to show it in comparison. No. Okay, so now, okay, so the family, this is the family network. This is actually 10, and okay, I thought I could enter for the Wi-Fi. Well, wireless networks. There you go. And this one is 10. As you can see here, this is 10, and the family Wi-Fi VLAN is here is 10. But actually, if I edit this one and I make this 20, or even 100 or 1 million, whatever the number might be, it doesn't really have any connection to the family that I defined here. The family Wi-Fi, you're defining the SSID, and you get the IP based on the VLAN that you tie it up to. So this one is 20, meaning when you get the IP, it will actually get an IP from the guest network, from the guest VLAN, not from the family Wi-Fi. So be very careful when configuring this. Again, the SSID is just SSID, doesn't have really any connection to the LAN networks, that VLAN networks that you have created. I'll create the rest of the networks in here to just speed up the process. So we'll guess Wi-Fi, or probably get 2 password, and then this one should have VLAN 20, and it doesn't have to be 20, but you know, to get the IP networks from VLAN 20, you have to tie it up with the VLAN 20. Family Wi-Fi, I guess Wi-Fi. Okay, and then the last one will be the IoT Wi-Fi. Okay. Let's enable, and then control IoT is 107. Password. There's one thing that I forgot to do on the guest Wi-Fi. As you can see here, the guest network is not checked in here, so I need to edit this one because this is supposed to be a guest network. Again, that's the reason why, you know, the Wi-Fi and the checkboxes, this one only applies to the SSIDs that you have created. Okay, so if I click that guest network in here, now it will have a checkbox, meaning TP-Link's proprietary, or you know, internal guest security, ACLs, whatever rules that they you know, apply in here for the guest Wi-Fi to make this particular SSID and network guest network will be applied if you have that checkbox enabled. Again, like I said, because this is a guest, you just click the guest network enable. But in actuality, you don't have to do that. You don't necessarily have to do that for that one. You can also do that in the, and it will not complain. Okay, it will not complain. The system will not complain. It's up to you. Okay, again, these are just configuration settings. This might not be, like for example, I can even do a family as a guest network. Of course, this is not a very good implementation, as you know, you would like to probably have just one guest network for your visitors, and the rest will be you know, whatever you have, an admin and the internal stuff, marketing, you know, if it's in the office, marketing, if it's, you know, you have your barn, you have your porch, you have your warehouse, you have your garage, you know, you can have that, but you can only have, you know, preferably you only need one guest Wi-Fi, I mean guest network. Okay, and it will not complain. But since we don't need family Wi-Fi and IoT Wi-Fi to have the internal guest rules or policies applied, I just have to check check that one, apply, and Wi-Fi, apply, and that's it for this one. Okay, so need to do something. I'll be back, so I'll post this video again, and I'll tie up all the videos together on the editing. Thank you. Okay, so back again. I just want to check someone's knocking on the door. Anyway, what do I have here? Okay, so I have defined the networks. I have defined the wireless SSIDs. There's nothing much to do, nothing else to do on the guest Wi-Fi, at least at this moment, because the guest Wi-Fi was already considered as the guest network. So it has TP-Link model has its own predefined rules and processes for the guest network. So that should be okay. Anything connecting to the guest network will have those rules process for that particular SSID. Of course. Okay, so I have defined all the wired networks as well. Like I said, we have those VLANs, IoTs, and everything. So now I'm moving on to the ACL. Basically, we would like to make sure that the IoT VLAN will not have any access to any of the other VLANs, which is the family and of course the guest and the admin or the native VLAN as well, unless specifically allowed to. For this particular demo and for this particular example, I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4 as my IoT device, and I'm going to use my laptop as well as another device. Okay, so let's go with the network security. I think the last part of this video should be securing. So I've done the failover. We have the native VLAN. We have the next one will be actually more about the ACLs, making sure your IoT network doesn't mess around with your regular network, admin network, or family network. Okay, so ACL rules is kind of a bit tricky. I'm not an expert on this one, so if you have any tips, if you see me anything wrong that I'm doing, I'm a newbie. Like I said, I'm trying to learn. This is part of my video, is to learn the configurations and everything of new technologies and stuff like this. So if you see me struggling, if you see anything that I can improve upon, just let me know, put in the comments or send me a message. I'll be grateful and I appreciate that. Okay, anyway, go back to the network security. It's a good one as well. But if you control it from the switch where the access points are connected, in this particular example they are, then they will be affected as well. So switch will be a good way to create a new rule. Okay, so first one is okay, will be deny IoT to private IP. Yeah, that will be my first one. So you can see here 2168.107.236. You can see here. That's so far so good. So I will deny my IoT to no, I need to define the IP group. I need to create an IP group. I need to define the three network. This will be the private IP group. Okay, so that will be 192.168.0.0. That will be 16.17. So 172. 16 0 and I think so I have 192.168.0.0.16, 172.16.0.0/12, and 10.0.0.0/8. So this will be all of my private IP. So what I'm saying is once I turn it on, I should see request timeout in here. IP group any boom 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 boom. No, not IP group any, it should be my private IP group IT 90. So apply. So let's see, and there you go, it timed out. Now the problem with this particular rule is actually I denied within IoT network, what you call that, pinging as well, and I can show that by let's see, my IPs. This one, right? 192.168.0.46. So I'll configure one of the ports. So I have that one. I'll configure one of the. I think I have it configured already, but if not, what's happening here? Oh, I click this one. It's so slow. I thought I did not click anything. Oh man. Okay. Switch settings. I might have already configured one of the ports, the edge ports for the IoT, but let me just check, make sure. So I have port 2 as the IoT, yes, that is currently correct, and port 7 is currently the IoT as well. Might have configured it, but what I'm going to do is configure this, put my laptop in this particular port, and you will see that I still will not be able to ping the 236. Okay, let me do that now, and I'm putting it here. I wonder if I can even get an IP. Maybe not. I think I will not be able to get an IP. So let's see. Because I deny, basically, saying, hey, IoT, you can't get to anywhere. So see. Yep, I can't even get an IP. Failed, because I can't even get an IP. Yeah, I can't even get an IP. So I'm gonna put it here. I will create another rule that will allow IoT to IoT connection. It's kind of silly, but let me do that. Wireless networks. Nope, not there. Network security. ACL. Switch ACL. I will have to permit IoT to IoT traffic. Okay. Permit IoT to IoT. IoT to IoT. So apply. So now let me just check IP config. So I'm back to my admin VLAN. So I can still not ping. I shouldn't be able to ping the 236 the IoT device, but I should be able to get an IP now, because the gateway IP is 192.168.107.1, and I have allowed communication to that one, so I should be able to connect and get an IP address. Okay, so let's see. Maybe not. I'm still not getting anything here. It's just identifying. Nope, I will not be able to do that because the permit is under that. Oh man. Okay, hold on. I can make that particular change. Let me do that one more thing. So again, I hope you're learning from my mistakes and learning from my learnings. That's the idea of this video. Okay, I got an IP. All I have to do is do this, and permit IoT to IoT traffic, and then deny IoT. Again, you shouldn't make any changes to this one, because that's not how it affect. But I would still want to show that's an acceptable behavior. Okay, we'll still be able to ping google.com. Yes, I can. Okay, and now because of this tool, I should be able to get an IP now. And that's the reason why see how traffic is. And as you can see here, immediately I get an IP, and let's check out my IP and see if I get the 107. And there you go, 107.43. Okay, let me ping the 192.168, that's 107.236. I can do that because I'm within that network. I cannot, let me see, 192.168.0.1. I will not be able to do that. I will not be able to gain access to that VLAN. How about 10.1? Nope, definitely not. How about 20.1? Nope. How about 107.1? Yes, so I just ping all the gateway IP addresses of these networks, and as you can see, I cannot do that. And I can SSH to my Pi 168.107.56. And I can ping google.com. Yes, I can. And I can ping google.com here. Yes, I can. And I'll turn it off so that the reason why I also add this is to show you that even if I have an IP, now I have an IP, I will not have any problems having an IP, right? So this is in case you have a static IP set for this particular one. So I wonder if it's gonna get stuck. Okay. Not sure if that even works, but I will assume it works. So let's see. Should be able to ping Google. Well, what I shouldn't be able to do is ping or any other. Okay, that didn't work. I guess that didn't work. That didn't get applied. So then I don't want to remove my cable here, but I want to connect to the Wi-Fi. Connect to admin Wi-Fi, so I'll still be able to connect to the 0.151, because right now I cannot connect to the 151.192.168 at 0.151. If I'm not connected to, let's say, I'm just gonna let me just disconnect this one, because I connected to the Wi-Fi now. Disconnect. Disconnected. And I cannot connect it. So let's see a persistent ping. Okay, so now I can make the changes here on my network security and my ACL. So it did not get turned off, so let me turn it off. Okay, so now it's turned off, and I will still be able to ping because I'm still connected to the Wi-Fi VLAN. So let me disconnect this one, and I should have a request timeout here. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm now back to my wired network connection. And what's interesting is because of my rule to deny all the IP communication, this will actually block Inter-IoT communication as well. So I will not be able to ping the 236 as well. So this basically isolates all your devices within themselves. So there are certain situations where you would like to do that, for example guest network or something like that, where you don't want anyone to see each other, but you can still access the internet. This particular scenario, right? Maybe not. Oh, okay. In this particular scenario, I blocked the internet as well, I think, because I blocked connection to what they call to the routers as well, because I turned off the inter-IT communication, unless I add another rule to allow you know. And let's do that. Let's not talk about it. Let's do that actually. Let me, because right now I'm disconnected. Okay. So let me create a isolated network, but that has access to the VLAN. Okay. So now I'm connected. I should have access to create new rules again here. And let's see. I will create a rule to allow, okay, permit IoT to internet. So permit IoT to IP group. IoT TW 192.168.7.1. I wonder if it's gonna work. Maybe I need to have it. Protocols, enable permit protocols. So I'm looking for both ways. Enable permit protocols. Create new. Okay. Source, destination. I wonder where's the bidirectional, like the reverse button is. It's not showing up, but oh, because I created it in the gateway ACL. Okay, dang it. Let me go here. So I can permit IoT to gateway. Internet. Permit enable IoT to gateway. So I should be able to do that one. Let me do this one first. Let me do the both destination, and I can turn off these devices. So right now, like I said, I have access to that because I'm connected to the Wi-Fi, right? I'm connected to the Wi-Fi. So if I disconnect to the Wi-Fi, I should still be able to. Let me just. Disconnect. So these rules, let's see. Switches. Oh man, what am I clicking? CL. So that's a good news. As you can see here, I can continue to, or maybe not a good news, not showing anything in here. But I shouldn't be able to ping. Yes, I shouldn't be able to ping. See Google. But I can have access to the internet. CNN.com. Do I have access to internet.com? Oh yes, CNN.com. I mean, and how about the yes, I do still have access to those. I can't read all of this because I only allowed access to 1921 to the gateway. I only allowed access to the gateway, but not to the rest of the network, and I think this one is just bugging out. In order for me to actually fully access the rest of the network, is I need to connect my Wi-Fi to the unrestricted network. I just want to show how to allow a specific service, in this particular case internet, to your IoT without having them communicate to each other, meaning each IoT devices can connect to the internet on their own, but they cannot communicate within another in the network, because it's an isolated, basically it's a fully isolated network. Okay, it's like putting them all inside, you know, a room, and then they're all inside a sub room in the dark, which is kind of sad. Okay, anyway, so am I connected to the management view? Okay, check that one's so slow. So yes, I'm connected to the admin and to the IoT at the same time. I will not be able to communicate to the IoT. Destination host unreachable. Okay, I should be able to see and make some more changes here. There you go. Okay, so because of this particular rules, it allows me to access the internet from the IoT, but prevented IoT to IoT communication because I only allowed the service. So let me see if I needed the other one. I shouldn't, but I want to make sure. Can I still go to the internet? Yes, I still can go to the internet, and the ping will not reply back, but I have access to the internet, which is kind of interesting with that particular rule. Okay, it's gonna be so slow as well if I do it that way. Maybe my laptop is just so slow, but so with two rules, that's a pretty interesting results. That's not what I wanted to do though. Again, this particular setup will allow me to have my devices to get access to the internet without having them talk to each other. See here, let me do a consistent ping. Let me erase these rules, because that other rule will basically do what I wanted to have access to the internet, and at the same time have access to one another, because you want your IoT to access to their, you know, smart hub. Okay, so that should allow me to there you go, and you can see it's now accessing the IoT device within that network, and I can now SSH to my So let me see if I'm connected to the Wi-Fi VLAN, just make sure I'm not making any mistakes here. Yeah, I'm still connected here. So let me just connect here. And let me exit ipconfig. Okay. So now I will not be able to connect to my devices again here. because now I cannot ping them again. 0.151, which is my controller. And the reason is I disconnected my Wi-Fi, which bridges the gap between my black network towards the and the admin Wi-Fi. So anyway, again, I can access Wi-Fi, IoT to IoT network. That is good, that is okay, that is great. Now I'm in a walled garden. I cannot go out anymore. I go 168.0.1, cannot go out anymore. Access those. 20.1, again I cannot access those. 20.1, but I can definitely access the internet. And what this tells you is that you can access all your IoT devices will be able to access the internet without any issues at all. Let's see, CNN.com. It's really slow, but it loaded. Okay, so your IoT devices will have access to the internet and will still protecting all your devices. So now I'm going to bring my laptop to the admin VLAN again, and this will remove my access to the walled garden, because the walled garden can only communicate to itself and to the internet, but not to anyone else. Okay, so now I should have an IP address. Go. Now I can ping all the addresses. 0.1. Go. And I can ping 20.1. There we go. I can ping 10. Okay. So I'm in a network where I don't have any really particular limitation. Okay, so you can apply this particular rules and set of rules to the rest of your devices, the rest of your network, and this will particularly work the way you want it to work. Basically block the guest network from everything else, and if you would like to do that to the family VLAN, do the exact same thing, and it should work. Okay, so it should work. But let's say you want to protect your family network, accessing on the what you call the guest network at all. Okay, right now, like I said, it cannot be done. Basically, your IoT device cannot be accessed at all. So you are really fully protected. But another example is, well, you want to gain access to one of your devices, so definitely you need to have a way to connect to your IoT devices. So now you're out of luck. The only way to connect to the IoT devices is if you can find a network port or connect to the wireless to the SSID that is connected to this IoT network. Okay, I keep saying guest for whatever reason. So your IoT network is completely blocked, isolated, and nobody can access it. It can only access itself, can access the internet, and cannot access anything else. The same thing goes to I think same thing goes for these devices. It cannot be accessed. So let's SSH to 168.176. So I cannot SSH to that. It will time out. So if I would like to give access to that particular one, I have to create a new rule, which is permit SSH to IoT. It's permit. I will do bidirectional first, so that and then I'll make it granular. Permit not IoT gateway to not the port group. Should be port group. I need 8. That will be IoT device, IoT pipe. So have the subnet 192.168.107.236/2, and then port 22. Confirm, enable, permit, IoT. Let's see what's happening here. It says you cannot connect, or it requested timeout. Then okay, try. Oh, choose source and destination. Okay, did not select the destination. Family. Okay, so I'm still on the admin VLAN, so I shouldn't be able to do the SSH. I shouldn't be able to do that. Okay, because my IP is still on. Okay, now let me configure one of the wire networks and one of this port. Oh gosh, it's so slow. Okay, switch settings. Configure 7 port 6 as a family VLAN, family port VLAN. So this one is currently, oh, this one is 7 is the IoT. I'll configure this the family. Okay, so now I'm going to move my 6. Go. And that's my IP address. That 10. I still will not be able to ping the IoT. Oh, I can ping the gateway. Oh, okay, I can ping the gateway. Oh, yes, okay. So it's basically because of let's go here, security. Switches here. Okay. So now permit IoT to IT traffic, permit deny IoT to okay. So I still not be able to SSH because the SSH is still here. I need to have it here and this one here. So I have 4 rules, and let me put that in there. So I will not be able to ping 107.236, but I should be able to SSH into it. SSH pi. There you go. I still cannot ping even my own IP. It's my IP. It's 10.43. I will not be able to ping the 10.43 from the pi. Okay, I will not be able to do that, but I will be able to ping the internet. I will not be able to ping the other gateway IP address. I will be able to ping 107 because of the permit rule. There you go. And again, I cannot ping this laptop that's currently SSH in here. And the only reason why I can SSH here is because of the allow rule for that particular port, for that particular IP. Okay, so currently again, ping 192.168.107.236. I will not be able to do that because of the rule, but because of the rule I will be able to get to the SSH, and this is how you allow the port. Okay, so another use case scenario. Okay, so what if you don't know the IP? No, you know the IP address, but you don't want to keep, you know, what you call it, adding call that, device, because right now I specifically allow any device from, let's see here, specifically allow any device from the family VLAN, to communicate to the IoT. Cancel. See, permit SSH. Permit that, enable from family to IoT. I wonder if let's see if I disable this one. Let's see, it's gonna work again. And the reason for it is this is what I'm saying, granularly, you know, checking how each action works, because you don't want to have too many rules to make, you know, your system too complicated and hard to maintain. You also don't want to affect the performance of your network. So let's see if I can still SSH. So if I remove that particular, the reverse portion, I'll not be able to do that. So let's enable this again. Let's try it again. Maybe I broke it again. Oh, there you go. I can now enable that one. So what if I disable this one and apply? So in reality, I only need one more rule, which is basically to permit SSH, basically this one. Permit IoT to the family to SSH, which is kinda scary if well, not necessarily. You only want, because this one is only one device, so only one device can go to the family. If you would like to make it even more granular, you can define another device here, which is the IP address of my laptop, and make it even more granular, that only these two devices can communicate to each other through SSH. That's really going into, you know, like really very granular communications between network, and that's the reason why I try to limit the number of what we call that, ACL rules. But this particular scenario, you are allowing SSH to this particular device only, this one device. And why do I say this device only? So let's see the profile of the IoT group. IoT gateway, no, not IoT, this one, PyPort. Because I only specifically allow this 236 to be able to SSH, and let's do that. Let's do that on an example again. Let's prove that. Let's prove these particulars. Now let's say I make this a 235, then I shouldn't be able to SSH to this anymore. There you go. You can't SSH to anymore, because I only allow one device, which is the Pi4, to be able to, you know, get SSH from the family, specifically for that particular network. And again, if I would like to have an even more granular, only device-to-device communication, I don't really have a very nice, yes, there is a use case scenario for that, but I don't have a very nice use case scenario for that particular, you know, at least for home use, regular home use. So what I would like to focus on is what's your typical home use, right? The typical home use that I would say is to allow a whole network 0/24. So this will basically tell me that, you know, okay, I'm allowing SSH to any of the devices to this particular, you know, is that a particular useful, and now I'm thinking that's a useful scenario. I guess if you have like a group of cameras and you have so many cameras that you don't want to keep, you know, adding more cameras to each subnets and subnets on each host, gets tiring. Yes, this one you can apply this particular rule. because now it's let's see if I apply it. Let's see if that works. Yeah, it works. So what can be done as well is create your own master controller. Again, you know, I'm going to add my IP address. What's my IP address? 43 Okay, so let me go to the ACL again. Our networks. One image for wireless network security. So right now what's happening is I'm allowing SSH from Pi4 to any devices so that is connected to the family network. So that's what, so let me open this one. See, any device that belongs to the family network can connect to the IoT Pi4. So, and what I can do instead is allow only IP port group, master controller, this one. I can do that, and let's see, I should be able to do that still because I'm the master controller. As you can see here, I'm the master controller and I can still connect it. Okay, so now what if I connect to the family network? I should still get that 10, but this time around I will have a different IP address. Okay, I should have two different IP addresses. Config. Now I have 10.40. This is the master. This is the one that I have fully assigned that this device talks only to this particular NIC. So if I remove this one, okay, so now I shouldn't be able to SSH. There you go. I cannot SSH anymore because even if this is in the family network, it's considered as a different host. It doesn't pass the ACL rule that I have applied here because this one becomes the IoT device only with the master controller. So you can see here this is a one-to-one connection anymore with SSH. I'm just saying it's SSH. You can do that, of course, add more ports. So how do I add more ports, IP ports in this one? So let's see. So how do you do that? ACL profiles. So I have to go to the profiles and groups. So right now I'll add it here, IP. So now currently it's a Pi4, right? So I can add port 80 and then port 8080. So I'm allowing these ports, right? And now it's not just the IoT Pi4, I would say, because I will now have server and this is a whole network of it. So I will now says IoT SSH web ports. IoT network SSH web port. Okay, so I can do that. So now, actually, I may have bespoke. I forgot that I already edited this one to be a 1.0 and that's 236. What I was trying to say earlier was like this. If I do it like this, that will be a one-to-one communication. So let me do that. I should be able to. No, I shouldn't be able to because I'm disconnected here. So this one, SH pi. 192.168.107.56. What the heck, what's happening? Okay, so I should be able to, once I connect here, disconnect from the Wi-Fi. There you go. Can SSH. Okay, so I have demonstrated multiple ways to use the SSH with just with just 3 rules. Basically, I only have 3 rules, but I just play around with the targets, destinations, IP group, the gateways, and all those devices. So what I'm saying is you have different ways to secure your IoT network. And again, if you want, so currently right now it works here that the IoT network can connect only to this. So what this one says is any devices in the IoT network can only connect to the web and SSH in the master controller. Okay, if I would like to have it connect to anything on the network, in anything in the family, I just do that, and that will tell me that the whole network of IoT is accessible by the family network. Anything but any devices on the family network. So that will also work. And based on your use case scenarios, however you want it, maybe not the family, maybe you have another admin VLAN in here somewhere where you can manage these guest networks, that will also work. So if you would like to manage it to the guest network or to the LAN networks, that should be okay as well. Okay, so what else do I need to cover here? So let's just review again. And again, now that I have do that, have a family, so now I can access the SSH and port 80 and all those ports with either Wi-Fi or through connection, because I'm not specifically targeting any specific IP. So let's do that. I can do that through the wired. Earlier I cannot do that through the wireless, so let me do that family Wi-Fi. Family Wi-Fi. Do that. Okay, this one you can see here, permit SSH. Well, not the name is wrong right now. Let me just edit it just to SSH. Not just SSH. Fine. And there you go. So I'm now connected to the Wi-Fi. Let's see that. See here, I only have one IP, which is the Wi-Fi, and if I connect this to the admin, I should not be able to get access to that again. More demonstration purposes. Just want to make sure this is pretty clear, because I know ACLs are very confusing. I got confused about it a long time ago, but I'm still confused now. I have to always reset my mind to get around it. And okay, so now I cannot do SSH pi 192.168.7.56. I cannot be able to do that. That will not work. Okay, like I said, because I'm in a different network that I have defined. So with just 3 rules and playing around the port groups and protocols that are affected, you will be able to secure your guest IoT. I always keep saying guest one. IoT network from the rest of your private IP networks. Okay. As you can see here, I did not define any profiles I use. I just created the management, and no, I did not create manage. I created only the family and the guest and the IoT. And the IoT specifically, we isolated it. They can communicate to each other. If you put another device like a master hub or smart controller within the IoT, they can be reachable by all the IoT devices within the particular network. It can access the internet. It's all good. And then this, like I said, this IoT network is rolled securely and tightly, and they cannot get out of this particular network. They can only access their network, and they cannot go to any other networks that you create or you define, and which is pretty good because of our single rule here. Because of this particular rule, this encompasses all the IP networks, IoT to any private IP, because the private IP have defined the 192.168, 172.16, and 10.0 to be declined, you know, at default or denied at default. So any new networks that you add that falls into that particular category, the broad private IFC, I mean private IPs, will be declined, and you only have to add at least 2 rules. Two rules. This one is if you would like to permit IoT to IoT communication and access to the internet, and this one will be to permit any other networks outside of IoT to be able to communicate to the IoT VLAN. Again, you only need to add one more permit to allow that, and you can make it as granular as your IoT can only communicate to one specific device outside of its network, or you can let it communicate to a whole network, or you can let it communicate to the multiple networks. But that will defeat having it isolated in the first place. But I'm just saying that there might be several use cases where that is applicable. There might be some that is not applicable. Let's say you created another IoT because you are running out of IP addresses. There's too many IP addresses, or you want to test around with another IoT with several features and capabilities, and you want your IoT devices to communicate to one another. So you can definitely do that as well. Okay, so that's the end of the video for this particular lessons, learning and testing and trying things out. Again, I'm not an expert on this particular technology or any topics that I'm covering. I'm just sharing what I'm learning, and my hope is that you learn from my learnings and you learn from my mistakes, and that you'll be able to make use of whatever you learn from me. Hopefully, this video helps you. That's it. If you like this video, like and subscribe. If you don't like it, please let me know. I'm game for any, like I said, I'm trying to learn. Please be constructive. Criticism is okay. Let me know what I can improve with, any learnings that you can impart with. That will be awesome. And okay, till the next video. Bye.